What would George Washington think about our culture today in respect to firearms and how we have many heavy regulations, all in the name of gun control or gun regulation safety, because somebody has committed an act of violence and taken the life of a few individuals or many? I think George Washington would be very disappointed and ashamed that we don't show more discipline in teaching people how to handle firearms, how to respect them, know what they are, what they mean, and even if you don't have one, when you come upon one, how to handle one, not to touch it, to treat every firearm as if it is loaded, even if you know there's nothing in there. Always point it away from you, either down range at a shooting range or on the towards the floor. Basic things. And if you don't know, don't touch it. I think a lot of people think they know and then sometimes overcompensate. Sometimes they make a mistake. But I think George Washington would want us overall to have more training in firearms, to not be afraid of firearms, because George Washington said in his first annual address to Congress that a free people ought not only to be armed, but disciplined, to which end a uniform and well digested plan is requisite, and their safety and interest require that they should promote such manufactories as tend to render them independent of others for essential, comma, particularly military, comma, supplies. So there's separation between the military and what the government does and what the people do. Independent of others for essential. He talks about not only to be armed, but disciplined, to which end a uniform and well-digested plan is requisite, to understand what a firearm is, and even if you don't want one, like I said, when you come upon one, or it's in the house, or you're out and about, or whatever the case is, how to respond respectfully and handle it with responsible safety. Not to freak out. Sometimes it is scary. Yes, I understand that. But I think there's this boogeyman about firearms because of culture and media. And that's a big thing, too, George Washington would be very ashamed of, is how the news, even in his time, there was kind of a boogeyman in the news where things would happen and people would get spooked or scared of something because of whatever the news and how they were propagating it. And I think that's what's going on with firearms. And the Second Amendment says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. One thing to keep in mind, too, is that 6 out of every 10 gun deaths are from suicide. 6 out of every 10 gun deaths are from suicide. So we're talking about gun regulation and gun safety and gun control and gun regulation safety, and we want to tighten the rules on firearms, but yet we're not looking at mental health and why people get to the point of wanting to take their own life. Not that we can't have firearms, but we need to be looking at culture and what propagates in people to want to take their own life, because life is precious and you only get one. And that's very sad that in culture we do not talk about the psychological aspect of suicide and then taking the avenue of using a firearm. We should not have gun control and we should not have gun regulations where a free people, we the people, cannot have access to firearms, ammunition, safety, essentials like George Washington is talking about. 3 great books about firearms and the Second Amendment that I have read are this book here, Shall Not Be Infringed. Fantastic book about the Second Amendment. Another great book is In Defense of the Second Amendment. Phenomenal about the history of the firearm, the Second Amendment, and what it means for our culture today. Now, this book here, The War on Guns, talks about the history of the Second Amendment, but also talks a lot about the political side of the propaganda, like I said, boogeyman in the news to scare people into having this gun control and gun regulation safety, all for the sake of political prowess. Now, check this book out, or any of these 3 books, and don't forget to be safe out there, to take your time to pause, and always treat every firearm as if it is loaded, away from yourself and others. Thank you.